star. Because at the end of the day in sports, I know people talk about team and blah, blah, blah. You know how you win in sports? By having as many star players as you can. And if you watched that Eagles game, and I know you did last night, in addition, we'll get to everything. The offensive line play, Miles Sanders, the special teams, unspecial teams. We'll get to all of it today. But one thing came to my mind during that game, and we knew he's playing at an MVP level. We knew that he's a great leader. Jalen Hurts is a star. Jalen Hurts is a star player. And when you have star players, you can actually win something. I know you can try to rack your brains in certain sports where you can find the needle in the haystack of a team that won a championship without stars. But really, 99.999% of the time, the teams with the star players are the ones that win, and we have one now at the quarterback position. What he did last night had never been done. Now, I know you're seeing the stat with the 4 different guys with 150 yards passing and 150 yards rushing. Here's what's different. None of them threw 2 touchdown passes to go with it. He's the only guy that's ever done that. You saw that game, and every time the Packers did something, every time the Eagles made a mistake, whatever it was, that guy had an answer. And he's not out there alone. They have star players along that offensive line, by the way. He's not the only star. But it's clear now, Jalen Hurts is a star player. He's not just – last year he was a interesting player who was flawed. And he would admit that. That's why he worked so hard to get better. While many people last year were arguing, he's perfect as he is. Yeah, he knew he wasn't. Put in a ton of work, and now he's getting to the point where there's very few, if any, holes in that man's game. He's playing at such a high level. And I want to know from everybody out there in the entire Delaware Valley, across the world, are you ready to say what I'm saying? Jalen Hurts now is a star. We don't have to mess around anymore and question things because you have your quarterback. He keeps on doing it. And I know the thing we have to resist is you don't have to get there when I say so or someone else says so. There are people out there mad this year as Jalen Hurts plays well because people, you didn't give him credit. You needed to see more. That's fine that they needed to see more. They're not wrong that they needed to see more. This is how you would be wrong if you don't think you've seen more. Like we had a caller last week. He was very stupid. And we had mostly good callers. It was just one particular guy was stupid, and he called in and he said that it was all the coaches and Jalen Hurts didn't do anything. You remember that guy who threw in that little trope? And he then emailed the boss and tried to get me in trouble after that because I called him. I said it was stupid to say and a little borderline racist, but here or there, not borderline. But anyway, Jalen Hurts is a star right now. And when you have a star quarterback, I know people are going, oh, what about the defensive line? Fine. I'm not going to argue with people about anything today. The only thing I'm going to argue about is if you don't see that quarterback is special, if you don't see that Jalen Hurts has taken a step, and not a step, a leap, an elevator ride. I mean, you're talking about the gap between ground level and the top of Mount Everest. That's the type of step that he takes. If you can't see that the Eagles have a chance, not only because, but in a big way because of the quarterback, I will argue with you because Jalen Hurts, I'm saying it right now, he's a star player. How you doing, Hunter?
Jalen Hurts had 103 rushing yards in the first quarter. Imagine being Miles Sanders rushing for 147, and then you look at the box, or 143, and go, oh, Jalen Hurts got more than me at 157. It was the back-breaking runs on third down early on in that first half. He's running for 24, 28 yards on third and long situations. He's so comfortable with the ball in his hands. I always feel he's going to make the smart play. He's extremely intelligent. He doesn't traditionally turn the ball over as crazy as we see other quarterbacks in this league. I mean, it was actually mind-blowing to see them fail those sneaks on third and fourth down. And really, I don't even think they failed. They just didn't actually challenge the play on the third down call. So, I mean, I just love everything that he brings to the table. He's filled with swag, which I feel is important because we saw what a leader was in previous situations in this organization when you didn't carry yourself a certain way and when you couldn't relate to your team. This kid's got it all, from the Jordan 11 cleats with the Concords and the all black, the way he enters the facility every single day. That might sound foolish, foolish, but I think that there's a tremendous amount of value on how you relate with your teammates and why everyone's buying into the core because of what he does. Each week, we break down, well, the defense did this and the offense struggled and blah, 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 blah. They're 10-1, while every Monday we seem to have complaints on what's going wrong. The reason why I sit back and I think it's hysterical is because you got the quarterback. You got the quarterback. Every single week, you talk about who's out there, and it's Mahomes, and it's Josh Allen, and it's this and that. Well, why don't you feel comfortable about the Vikings? Kirk Cousins. Why don't you feel comfortable about some of these other teams? Ryan Tannehill, the Titans, because of the quarterback play. You have a special kid. I love watching him every single week, Ricky Bo.
Quarterbacks are everything in this league. I think that's first and foremost. But the one thing that I've recognized about this, he is the smartest guy on the field. And I don't care what anybody says. You watch his runs. He knows exactly how much yardage he could get out of each run without taking the big hit. That, to me, is special in itself. You look at all his numbers from year to year. He's thrown at, almost a 67 percentage clip this year plus. That's up 5 percentage points from his career. That means he's growing as season by season goes on. That's what makes him special. He knows what he needs to do. Well, his father was a coach. He had all these great coaches moving up through college ranks into the pros. He's taken the best of everybody, and he's put it into himself, which makes him a better player every time he steps on the field. And the greatest thing about Jalen Hurts is that he wants to be better every single time he goes out there. And I think he understands. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of times we come on the show and we will destroy the defense even though it's in a win. How about we start patting some people on the back? Because when you have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts, you have something very special in this team. You see it. I mean, we've seen guys like Kyler Murray go through this, really good running quarterback, but he didn't have the smarts that Jalen Hurts does. Jalen Hurts, as a quarterback, has put himself into a top quarterback tier, into an MVP-type quarterback. Not just for his running ability, but for his smarts behind the center. Yes, granted, you brought up the offensive line. Yes, they are stars on that offensive line, but you have to know how to use them. Jalen Hurts knows how to use everybody on this team equally.
It's incredible. As you hear, Ricky was a little under the weather over the weekend. Glad to have you back. Again, it's not just about Jalen Hurts. It's not just the offensive line. They have a lot of good players. Obviously, every good team has a lot of good players. But I don't think we're recognizing necessarily in the city, not that everybody knows he's good. Everybody knows they're playing well. No, this guy is a star player. Now, the biggest negative from the game yesterday, and the reason it kept getting close was, one, A.J. Brown. Now, I am concerned about what's going on with him, but in real time, I had forgotten. He was very sick. Apparently, he was sick enough to where he had the busted eye blood vessel in his eye from vomit because he was that sick. Lost a bunch of weight, so it's probably he was being a warrior just to be out there. But the special teams, I know people panic about the defense. Most of the Packers' drives were short fields. Now, I'm not saying Gannon was perfect. I'm not saying the defensive line is perfect, but it's hard against even the Packers if you keep having short fields. And why did they have so many short fields? The special teams. That's the only thing left that has to get fixed. And it's every week anymore. It's every single week.
And that's why I think the 33 points is misleading. And trust me, if we can rip Jonathan Gannon, all three of us would take our shots. And look, there were definitely problems in that department. But ultimately, when you're allowing Rodgers to start at the 47 or the 41 or these drives after the A.J. Brown fumble, too, and after the quarterback sneaks didn't work, you're putting the defense in a really tough position. The Eagles dominated on the ground more than we've seen in a long period in time of the National Football League. That's how dominant they were on the ground.
74 years long.
Right, and for them to have those 33 points, it's not just a Jonathan Gannon soft coverage thing. He was put in a really tough position, and then you lose a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's a ball hawk. Now, ironically enough, Blankenship steps in and gets an interception of his own. But, I think that was more – the 33 points tells you more about Michael Clay and the special teams than what Jonathan Gannon gave us.
And I will tell you this much. They had 106 yards rushing the Packers. When you think back on it, a lot of it, tough rushes. They were hitting within the 2-3 yard range. And, Dylan's a beast to start with.
You got to give credit.
And so is Aaron Jones.
You got to give credit to those guys.
You got to give those two guys some credit. I thought the defense was not that bad. I think, what you just said, Hunter, you give them an extra 30 yards on a kickoff or a fumble, you're making it just tougher and tougher on that defensive line. And you have Jordan Davis coming back next week, so that only makes it even better. And you're going to see a lot of in and outs, especially in the middle of that defensive line with Sue and Joseph and Davis. I think there's going to be a lot of switching around with those guys. You're going to see a lot of fresh guys in the lineup up and down.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. 610-632-0975. The word of the day is star. And now time for the Twitter poll with Jen Scordo. Hello, Jen.
Hello there, fellas. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Yes,
well.
thank you. Not you, Hunter, though.
Oh, come on.
All right.
How was your Saturday, Jen?
Yeah, how was your Saturday, Jen?
You both just
I was so thrilled. How about
pipe down
Michigan?
over there.
How about those
Pipe
Wolverines?
Go blue.
I'm out of this. That's y'all. Y'all go amongst yourselves.
I like you, Tyrone. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right, good.
How was your Saturday, hon?
It was great.
All right.
Mine, too.
Twitter poll. What are you happiest about after that Eagles win last night? You have 4 answers. Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, offensive line, or coaching. Right now, coaching is at the bottom with 5%. 12% say Miles Sanders, 31% say offensive line, and 53% are happiest about Jalen Hurts last night.
And I think that is the correct answer, not because the offensive line wasn't dominant, because they truly were. They were dominant. We were talking about how good Kelsey still is. We're talking about how good Lane Johnson is. Mailata, now that he's healthy, because he was playing banged up. That's when he gave up those sacks. He's been pretty much immaculate since he's been healthy. We know how good Dickerson is. He left the game for a couple snaps, came back. And Sayamala would have bounced back here. We know the offensive line is really good. We know they have so many good players. But that quarterback, it's just – and the reason I brought up the underdog thing is the reason the Sixers have any chance in the long term, I know people are enjoying the cute ball that they're playing now, and I like the way they're playing, but you have Harden, Embiid, and you believe Maxey can become a star. Because last year's champion, the Warriors, had Curry. They didn't win because of scrappiness. They won because they had the greatest shooter to ever be born, and in my opinion, a top 5 player ever, like in every sport. And the reason the Flyers right now, who have now on another, it seems like it happens, our annual 10-game losing streak or 10-game winless streak. It's an annual event now with the Flyers. It happens every year. They have no stars.
God, they stink.
They have no stars. Like, as much as we want to believe in work ethic, and work ethic does matter, but you know yourself. None of you listening or watching are pro athletes. You worked really hard playing sports. You know why you didn't make it? Not because of your work ethic, because you didn't have star-level talent. You might have star-level talent in another field. You might be a great accountant. You might be great as a project manager or HR, whatever you might do, plumber, electrician. You just didn't have that kind of skill with that. And you have that in the most important position in all of sports. And that's a big deal to me. I can't let it go, and I cannot allow special teams anger, organic anger, or anything else cloud the fact. Bryce Harper, star player. Like, you need stars. And now you look at the Eagles, they got a bunch of stars.
And it's not just like he's running and that's it. The reason why he's such a weapon with his legs is his ability to make certain throws that has now complemented that run game and that skill set. So, you get that throw to Quez Watkins, put it where Quez Watkins can make the play. That throw to A.J. Brown, that was important to put it in that space so A.J. Brown and A.J. Brown only can make the play. Ricky, you brought up the completion percentage so far this season. That's difference making. So it's not one of those. And you know what, to be fair, maybe a few years back it would be a problem to have someone with just their leg. It's a different ball game now. Now and they talked about this on the broadcast. You might be in an era where you need that dual threat or you won't be able to accomplish your goal.
See, the physical tools are God-given. The mental tools are driven by yourself.
Yep.
And I look at him and think about this for a second. He's making split-second decisions by looking at the defense and reading the defense right off the bat. That's where I think he's gotten 100 times better than last year or the year before when he was first coming up. He has got, and if this is a case, that just means he's climbing a ladder. And he's not looking backwards. He's going to get better and better as years go by. You think Tom Brady had all this physical gifts? No. But he was able to do what? Study, know what was good for him, and read off of that. That's where I think Jalen Hurts is right now.
Yep, and then Brady was blessed with the best we've ever seen, the power of anticipation.
Right.
That guy would be able to throw it to a spot better for more yards and for longer, for more winning than anybody we've ever seen. And Jalen Hurts, I'm not saying he's Brady, but the throws you were talking about, those anticipation throws, those are the throws. I know people, the one to Devontae on the left, he's on Hurts is outside the right hash. This is the long throw. That's the throw he could not make last year. On the left side of the field, the comebacker to Devontae, put it right in spot low so the corner can't jump the route because that's the one that they jump and get a pick six. And boom, he puts it there. Those are things he couldn't do, and that's from him doing it. And once you have a star quarterback, not only can they win it this year, they're going to have a chance and be in the mix every year. Does that mean they'll win 100? Rodgers only got one. But how many times, it's not this year, did that Packers team win double digits over his career? Damn near every year. Double digit wins. How many times? Brady's the ultimate example. I still believe they're going to win the division this year, and they stink because the rest of the division stinks, and Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. It's just when you have that kind of quarterback, it gives me this calm and comfort that I didn't have. I didn't even have it when Wentz was playing at the top of his game.
I agree. It's so funny you said that because driving in, I was thinking to myself, all right, the Carson Wentz era, the coolness that I feel when he's taking that snap and he's squatting, he's waiting for Kelsey to give him the ball. It's like the way that he's seeing the field and he's reading. I feel more comfortable with him than I did when Carson Wentz went on that run. And that tells you a lot because Carson Wentz was damn good that season, right, and he was making electric plays. That's no knock on Wentz. I think we're really just trying to show you how much Hurts has been shining for us. And let's say that you could go back right now, get this version of Jalen Hurts to go play Todd Bowles and that Tom Brady Tampa Bay. Just think about the
totally different ball game.
The difference it is.
But, I mean, think about this for a second. He's like a cheat in a video game right now. It's almost like where he gets up, he scans the defense. He knows 2 or 3 areas that are going to be open to him, whether it be through a run that the gaps are going to open up or there's going to be a receiver that's in that area wide open. And to me, that's half the battle. When, especially being a quarterback, knowing where people are going to be. You brought up anticipation. That's also anticipation. Anticipating what is going to be open to you, not necessarily to everybody else, but what are your openings going to be if you're doing an RPO? What are my openings? What if I fake to Sanders? What are going to be my openings on the right side? All this is going through his head. That's what makes him smarter than any of us.
Pre-snap.
Behind there. Yeah.
The pre-snap knowledge.
Pre-snap.
Yep. It's incredible. 10-1 now. Boy, let's go to the phones. Tom in Alabama. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Won't be going to the playoff down there. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, man. Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks for calling, buddy.
Hey, there's high marks just all the way around here today. And I'm here to tell you, Hurts is proving me all the way wrong, man. I don't have a problem with saying it. And, you know, when you're told so many times, like people like me, that you can't do it, obviously, he's going to do whatever he has to do to prove me wrong, which is fine. I mean, in my opinion, he's the MVP to this point. The team, if you take a look, they're 17-3 since 2-5 coming off of the wheels. And that one last game, they didn't dress anybody against Dallas. They haven't lost a road game in over a year. The defense, I mean, what can you say? T.J. Edwards, the line, them too, along with the offensive line. And then the coaching staff, it's a calm about them where nobody's panicking. And I think the Eagles have, for sure, the best team in the NFC.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because a lot of the Hurts haters in the offseason and leading up to this season would discuss how he lost his job at Alabama. Yet the person that he's fighting with the MVP for, one of them, happens to be that guy that he lost the job to. So does that really say that?
Maybe Tua was just good.
Yeah, maybe both are just fantastic quarterbacks.
That's absolutely a great point. Did you notice on the intros? He says his high school.
I noticed that last night as
well,
well. Yeah,
he does it. Slay does it. Yeah, some people do it.
Jordan Mailata goes to Jeff Stoutland University.
Well, he came out of rugby. Thanks for the call, Tom. They're the best team in the NFC. And I know we'll get into some of the issues because people are looking for him. I know John Kincaid wrote a piece about how he's not panicked, but he's scared. That's code for John saying he's in cold sweat of panic. We'll talk about why that shouldn't be the case, and we'll talk to Jose as well. 610-632-0975. We'll be back here on 97.5 The Fanatic and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving weekend. Hope everybody got some rest. Word of the day is star, because we got to talk about how star players are gold in this world. It's why tanking exists in all the sports. It's why there are people, Flyers fans, now that they have their annual 10-game losing streak, to say tank for Bedard. Like, you already see that out there because star players are gold. And the Eagles found one in the second round. Now, they were lucky. They didn't know. But it doesn't matter that they didn't know. Hurts did his job. They thought they were getting, the new thing, and they did. They just didn't know what they were doing, but they lucked into something. And credit to them for doing it, because now there's no telling how far the Eagles can go. And I really now, outside of San Francisco, I'm looking at this NFC landscape, and I'm laughing at it.
Yeah, me too. But to your point of the quarterback thing, do you believe in the 7th round people thought Tom Brady would be who he is, or Russell Wilson?
A lot of that was luck. No,
exactly.
It happens.
It does.
Like what I'm saying is, if you notice, Belichick couldn't. Oh, he'll do it again. Oh yeah. Well, how?
He hasn't since, right?
Right. Like no, he won't, because that wasn't skill. If it was skill, Tom Brady would have been the first overall pick, because he was the best player in that draft. He's the best football player to ever live. So obviously, if it was just skill involved, one of the other 31 teams, or at the time maybe 20 now, they've had expansion since then, would have taken him, but they didn't, because they didn't know.
Right, Mailata, for example. If you knew you could get a talent like this over at left tackle, teams would pounce on that.
Right.
By the way, you look at the NFC real quick. I mean, the only reason you're afraid of the Niners is because McCaffrey.
Not and
Jimmy
I think
Garoppolo sucks.
No, he stinks.
But there's another example on a team that has all this skill, but you might hold them back a bit because he isn't in the tier that Jalen Hurts is.
He can get him close to the top. He can't get him over the top.
Right. I respect the coach.
That's fair enough.
I respect Shanahan. Like, you know who I don't respect? Ryan Day at Ohio State.
All right.
Hey, Jay.
Y'all gonna pick on me all day.
What happened in that game? I missed it.
Don't you know that I'm crying on the inside?
What happened in that game?
You want to just rub salt in the wound, Ricky?
I was actually rooting for Ohio State.
I know you were.
I was rooting for
Ohio State in the game.
But
I know he can't coach. And they're talking about bringing him to the NFL. He won't succeed.
No, I completely agree with you.
He won't succeed. He got all these. He's not a good game coach.
I agree.
Yeah. So, yet Sirianni, he's a very good game coach. He's superior.
Loves to mix it up. Yeah. Tried mixing it up again.
Yeah, I just have a good feeling right now. But I know on social media that it has been tempered. Now, I know social media is not real life, but I know you guys have seen it too. Some tempering, some complaints. What about this? If you're 10-1, does it matter what it looks like?
No, because there's too many games that pass. Now, if this is week 1 or week 2, I think we can nitpick a little bit more because you're wondering about certain questions. But we've seen enough football from this team to have more knowledge on who they are. You go 10-1. Teams are not just flooded with 10-1 records after 11 games. I do want to touch on something about the Niners, though.
Yeah.
Because why are people feeling comfortable about the Niners right now? Because they're getting healthier?
Yeah.
Well, this team doesn't have Avonte Maddox, Dallas Goedert, and now they're down C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It's like they're grading the Niners on a scale of getting healthier, yet they're leaving out that context with the Eagles missing arguably a top 3 tight end in football and Avonte Maddox, who's a stud, and instead we're playing with Josiah Scott.
Right.
I mean, these details matter to who the Eagles are.
Right, and his Scott's interception was really caused by Slay getting to the ball. It bounces a tip drill, and then Josiah goes and grabs it. But it was really...
I don't know if you call it a tip drill.
Well, it went off his head.
Hit him in the head.
Hit him in the head. He tried to get his head around. His hand's missing. It bounced off the helmet. But he was put himself in the position, and this guy did it. And the other part about that is, on post-game live, at the time, I remember Barrett Brooks was talking at the time, breaking it down, fiery like he was. And then we see Jordan Davis jog into the tunnel and Barker. He's playing. I'm sorry. You mean to tell me a guy that size is running and he's not going to be able to play football next week? I'd just be shocked if I know he's not going to give us an answer in a few minutes. But if a 370-pound man is running on an ankle, he can play with the ankle.
He's
He's already ready to go.
Yeah. Sure. Like, I heard, it was a rumor that he might not have had to be IR'd. But we'll find out. It's not official yet.
Usually a guy that size with a high ankle sprain, you throw him on the IR, yes.
Right, usually. But apparently he was out of the boot or whatever in like 2 days.
Quick healer.
It was just back to like moseying around. So he's probably going to be good for some snaps. And that will make that defense, if people are worried about it, now you'll have Joseph and Davis.
I think Hunter's right. I think if this is early in the season, you're like, well, they're giving up some rushing yards. There's a problem here. Who cares? I mean, in all honesty, you're 10-1 right now. You're beating the daylights out of a lot of these teams. Yeah, you're going to have a couple close calls along the way, but you have 10 wins. Cut it out.
The Bills on the sideline. I watched Josh Allen. I forget who he hugged. It might have been Diggs. I honestly forget who it was. But the expression on his face on, whew, thank the Lord we escaped that one. And that's against the Lions on Thanksgiving. It's like these teams that we value and look at as a very talented team because they have close victories too where it's an ugly game. They have to squeeze it out. It's inevitable. That's the way this league goes.
Now, Mike Gaddy, who's producer today, does point out San Fran, number one overall defense, number one rush defense.
True.
Eagles now, though, number 2 defense. Believe it or not.
Our guy Gannon.
I know it doesn't look that way, but again, a lot of short fields yesterday. A lot of short fields.
I heard this
a lot of takeaways.
I heard this from a Gannon supporter, all right, over the weekend.
Yeah, before we go to Jose.
What teams run a defense? Just when you look at today's style of football, more teams run the Gannon view, and everyone kind of plays this passive game compared to what we all want. And I go, I hate
really?
that sounds like you're right. A lot of these defensive coordinators play this style these
There's
days.
a dozen in that area, but a few of them do that because they invested all the money on the offense. You don't have this level of personnel.
Oh, no doubt.
Running it.
They leave meat on the bones a lot with this personnel. They can do even more than the numbers. I don't think tells the full story. But again, a supporter brought that up, and I'm like, there is legitimacy to that view to a level, but you're allowing him escape more than he should at the same time.
Right.
And that
He's going to be a head coach next year. I hate to tell you.
Well, you know what? It couldn't happen
Maybe
to a nicer guy.
Great for the Eagles.
Yeah, 610-632-0975. Let's go back to the phones. Jose in Gilbertville. As we await Nick Sirianni's presser, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hello, Jose.
Hey, what's going on, Tyrone? Hope everybody's Thanksgiving was good.
Same to you, buddy.
I'm actually calling you from my house, and my son wants to say hi to you, Tyrone.
Hi, Tyrone. Let's
Hello.
go Birds.
Let's go Birds. What's your son's name?
Sebastian.
What's up, Sebastian?
Hi.
All right, so I love the word star. Not only do we have a star, I think we have a superstar for Jalen Hurts. I think he needs and is going to be the MVP of the league. And I also think eventually he's going to be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame like they did last night with a couple guys.
That's interesting. Because you didn't go all the way to NFL Hall of Fame, because even I would say, hold on, you got to do that for a long time. I tell you what, you win a Super Bowl. No. You win a Super Bowl, you're going in there. It's like Foles is going in. Foles has to go in. He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, agreed. And with the special teams, I think, once we tighten that up a little bit, they say the Eagles haven't played a complete perfect game just yet, and I agree with that. I think once, the special teams get buttoned up a little bit, defense is coming along real good now. Offense is phenomenal. What Jalen Hurts did last night with his legs and the running was incredible. It was Hall of Fame numbers. It was beautiful. Beautiful.
Historic numbers.
Yes, sir.
Now, Jose, the special teams. Michael Clay, they've made mistakes in every game. They're running into punters. They're getting punts blocked. They're missing kicks. They're allowing big returns. Every week it's something different. What is your faith level, Jose, that they can get the special teams fixed after not getting it fixed through 11 games?
Well, what I think needs to happen is if Jake Elliott can just boot the ball and just stop giving the teams opportunity to run the ball out of the end zone on us, that would help.
Hey, he kicked one 7 or 8 yards deep last night, and the guy took it out for 50 yards.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jose. Don't mean to cut you off there. It's thank you. That's the concern. To me, the defense, I don't love Gannon, but again, that running that they did, like they took forever to kick that field goal. And now it's time for Sirianni's day after press conference.